And let me recognize a gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Estes, to inquire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. You know, as all the witnesses have highlighted today, there's a large number of problems that working women are facing today. You know, after a year of total Democrat control, the economy is not working for anyone. Higher prices for nearly everyone is hurting working women and families, and it's getting worse every day. It's been more than a year since President Biden spent his first week in office canceling the Keystone Pipeline and new oil and gas drilling with executive orders. And predictably, gas prices have gone up from $2.39 per gallon to a record $5 a gallon on average. It doesn't take an expert to know that everything you buy in a store needed energy to be made and delivered to the shelf. Congress and the President cannot continue to attack American oil production and expect the economy will get better for working families. Well, I'm glad to hear my colleagues across the aisle begin to confront the enormous economic crisis that we're facing today. Affordable child care and family leave policies are only a part of the problem that we're facing, that working women are currently facing. Families also need a growing economy, better jobs, lower inflation, and affordable gas prices. A one-size-fits-all child care and family leave program won't solve the problems of working women and their families. If we go back to January 2021, when President Biden took office, we can see that the month-over-month inflation is up a cumulative 11.4%. So think about that. Something you bought in January of 2021 now costs 11.4% more than it did. And that's a marketplace average. Some products have been a whole lot higher than that. You can see it in the gas, as mentioned before. It's been up about 110%. You can see it in meat, up about 27%, bacon up 32%, milk up 32%. There's a good reason why Americans no longer have confidence in the economy. So what's that mean for the average working family? We're looking at the average American household spending an extra $635 in monthly cost. As you can see, these prices have continued to climb for American families each month, meaning that each household has paid an additional $5,000 for the failed policies under the Biden administration. Even if inflation stays the same, households will pay more than $7,500 over the next 12 months. These pressures from rising prices are straining family budgets, making another aspect of raising families more challenging, paying for child care. As we talk about solutions today, I hope we keep in mind that so many families have been struggling with child care since the pandemic because of the extreme shutdown measures and a slow return to in-person schooling. American families want flexibility in child care and leave, not ineffectual political grandstanding. So instead of trying to enforce partisan agendas, we need to work and be empathetic towards parents struggling to juggle their jobs while ensuring they have options to make sure their children are well cared for. That's why Republican legislation like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act focuses on expanding opportunities for all Americans, helping families keep more of their hard-earned money, encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation, which meant that we had a strong economy and a strong America, and strong for working families. Ms. Huey, you mentioned in your testimony that small businesses like yours must compete with larger businesses that have infrastructure and staffing to withstand these burdensome government mandates. Yet, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle continue to want to talk about this pursuit of bigger and more cumbersome Washington-focused policies. Given that 61% of small businesses already say they're struggling just to stay open because of inflation, do you think an inflexible Washington, D.C. mandate will force even more small businesses, including those owned by women, to shut their doors?
Thank you for the question, and yes, sir, I do. Right now in residential housing, the cost of housing is 24% of that is regulation, and that's in residential. 40% of the cost of multifamily housing is in regulation. And to only add to that would be detrimental to housing, whether it be multifamily or residential, single family.
Yeah, one of the things, one of the best long-term option for families to build wealth is through homeownership. And, a year ago, roughly 35% of new housing sold for less than $300,000. What percentage of homes are selling for $300,000 today, and how can families hope to buy a home and build that long-term wealth when inflation makes home ownership so unaffordable?
I don't know how they can imagine to do that with the way inflation is. Right now, it's only 10% of the homes that are for sale are under $300,000. You know, I can tell you in my when I work with Habitat for Humanity, one of the things I've really enjoyed in my career, this would have been my 14th year to volunteer with Habitat for Humanity in what they call their Builders Blitz, where we build 10 homes, where we build a home in a week. In the years past, we've done 10 to 12 homes. Those are the majority of women homeowners. We didn't do it twice, the 2 years of the pandemic, and we're not gonna be able to do it this year because of the supply chain issue. At a minimum, that is 30 women that are out of a housing world, that are not able to attain a house because of supply chain issues, inflation, and everything else.
Oh, well,
Thank
thank
the
you.
gentleman.
And that's unfortunate. I yield back, Mr.
Thank the
Chairman.
gentleman. Let me